So I'm getting some trim up, and one of the dilemmas I had was the windows on that front side, the side the door's on, because they're different sizes and different widths, same heights. And I was talking to my brother, and he said, well, why don't you have their overall displacement be the same by adjusting the trim? And so I took that in mind, and I went ahead and did it. And what that does is, even though the trim it's thinner on the sides here than it is on this window, the overall width is essentially identical. And that's going to be nicer from the outside, because when I create the shutters, they will occupy the same space and same width. And so with the shutters shut, you won't even be able to tell a difference in the window size, because the overall displacement is exactly the same. And that helps so that the widths here between the door trim and the window trim are the same, between the corner and the window trim will be the same. That space is going to get a lot smaller because I'm going to trim the corners so that we don't have little gaps like, let's see if you can see that, like that. You can see the light through there, right in there. And so I don't want to have those gaps. I think the biggest one's over here, right there. So I'm going to do what I can to close those up, because that's a lot of lost heat, or a lot of thermal exchange. And so that'll be the next thing I do after the next gap I close after these. And other than framing or trimming the windows, now these windows are trimmed up from the inside. Now we got to do the tall one, the wide ones, and with those I got to trim between them. The tall one's already trimmed between it, but the wide ones are not. And so those are some gaps, and since I want to have my study area essentially right here, I definitely don't want to be getting a draft the whole time. So that's what I'm working on, and that was my solution thanks to my brother. So I don't have, let's see how far back I can get, see if I can get those both in the shot. Almost, not quite, but here you can see, you can tell obviously the difference in the width of the trim on the sides, but it takes up the same space on the outside of the trim. So I like it, and so thanks, bro, for helping me have that idea. I appreciate it. At least the draft in those areas are closed up, and so I'm just gonna keep going and get everything as buttoned up as I can. My goal is to be able to start using this area for study in the morning. Hopefully after not too long I'll have these trimmed out and be able to just go ahead and vacuum things up and move some, desk and some seating furniture out here, and some toys for the kids. And right now our loft is safe because I can totally control ascension, so without a ladder or stairs, kids can't go up by themselves, and I'm not going to keep that sitting there. I'll hang it on the wall here or something, and where they can't reach it until I can just take it down when I want. But that's what I'm doing, and you can see more gaps there. Yeah, those are the drafts I want to close. And as a solution for running lights and a computer out here, since that's part of my study, I've got this here. I ran in the molding, the trim, just created a space for this strong heavy duty extension cord to come in, and that's the one that has a light on the end of it, a little orange light in there. again, thanks bro for that. I really appreciate it. I'll run that in, and I'll probably run a bar and mount it to the wall there or something like that has plugs on either side, because I want that side for study area for my son and this side for me, so we can study side by side. My wife bought us some cool lamps that match for our desks, and I'm watching for a desk for him, so as I update everything, I'll keep you in the know, and it'll be a nice area for study and playhouse for the kids, rec area in general for the family. And so when I get the trim on the outside here, I'll give you another shot of that, because right now there's nothing there. But honestly, I might leave that for now, because I want to get this place functional today. And there you can see the gaps between where the door, so the door I hung it and it was pretty even. Now you can see there's a larger gap on that side than there is on the other side, and there's a smaller gap at the top than there is at the bottom. And so the door settled down a little bit under the weight, and I went ahead and it was rubbing on the bottom, so I had to basically kick it to get it open. And you can see there that the gap is a lot bigger on the hinge side than it is over here. Well, there's no gap over here, and yesterday I just went and took instead of pulling it off the hinges and adjusting everything, I went ahead and took the skill saw and just barely trimmed the edge under there from both sides, because it's thicker than the depth of my cut, and that allowed it to swing freely again. And I did the same thing for this edge here, so that this door would close flush. And when I made handles for both of the doors, I had made one like that. See, well, it's not setting flush because I've got cords going in the bottom right now, or coming out. But I had a handle here that I just put up makeshift, and my son saw that and he's like, well, hey, where's my handle for my door? So I went ahead and made another. And when you close this is just, you can see I rounded the corner on that side, just barely comes past this molding. So if you have your fingers through it like this, you're going to hit them on the inside of the molding. And so I'll teach them to just fold it like that, don't really grip it. And I just tried to center those as much as I could in that section of the door for aesthetic purposes. But there's not a whole lot of additional options for placement that'll be solid and still have the ideal location for a mechanical advantage on the door, because I don't want it to be in the middle or anything. Not that it's heavy door, but it's just not what I want. I don't want it to be in the center of the door. And eventually I'll have develop something that latches, but I'll show you. Let me get these cables out of here. And so I did put molding up on the top and all the way around here, and I was planning on putting it down to the bottom there as well. It's all right to take a step up. I don't want a gap where rodents can come in or anything like that. So I'll put a little trim down there. You just have to you got to step up over the threshold anyways. So it's pretty flush here on this side where I trimmed it. You can see it's just barely above there. But as you go over, there's that gap. It's a 1/4 inch or so. And so I'll just put a piece of trim down there. I've got one that's thinner. It's the other piece of that section there. That's here on top. So I'll see if that's tall enough, and if not, I'll just do a standard one like this. And that is definitely taller than the gap down there. But that'll just take a couple minutes to put in. And I have this little wedge that I just stuck there, and I can put it in if I if I pull the door tight. I can put it like that, and that'll wedge it to where that's shut, and I won't be able to do that same thing up here because it doesn't stick out enough relative to the trim, but I'm planning on making something somewhat similar eventually as a doorknob that will allow me to rotate a knob that has some, like a sprocket on it basically, and that correlates with a metal bar, and that as I rotate that, it will slide it to or from the frame, and then I'll just cut a hole that it'll slide right into and make it deep enough to where it's secure, and then that will secure the door. I probably want to put it right along this area so that it's not blocking the kids' door and has a solid backing to where I attach it to. But that's the plan, and we'll see. I might not make it as wide. I might just make it little, like 6 inches or so. I was thinking a longer plate, but 6 inches would be, or 4 inches even, that would be adequate as long as I have it solidly mounted. The bracket that holds it in place. I just want to make sure that it stays solid and is able to hold the door tight like that, because I don't want big gaps. I know I have little gaps there, you can see light coming through, but I don't want it any more open than that. And so I know with temperature change and in spring there will probably be some swelling, and we'll see. If there is, I'll trim things as needed. But there we go. That's the holding the doors together right now. But honestly, I'm using this little door more than, well, I'm using everything more than anyone else right now because I'm getting it made. But I'm using that one more than the big one because the big one lets the warm air out, and I'm just giving this a test. I've got my little buddy heater in here, and the temperature outside was, earlier it was 32, and it was, with the little buddy, I was able to bring it up to this. If I can get a good angle for you. There we go. So, right at, it's at 46, about 46, 47. And so that's just the thermometer from my shop. Just, I've left it on the original cardboard or paper because it's easy to hang and move, and you just hook it there, hook it wherever I want. So that's a good spot for it. I like it there. And right now I don't have anything I want there more than that, so for now it'll stay. And that's the update. So please hit that thumbs up button. Appreciate it. And thank you. Thanks for joining me, and subscribe, and I'll keep you up to date. And you'll see me next time. Alright, so today I accomplished most of my goal and spent a little time doing something that wasn't my goal, and that was starting seeing how it was going to go insulating the roof. And so I had just one sheet that I've had sitting outside. That's the one that broke the fence over by the garden fence, and when it fell over in a storm. And that is it's the same one I was covering the opening for the window, for the wider windows with, and that's why it was out there. And anyways, I measured and cut, and that was the first one I did, that big piece over there, which is why it's in 3 sections. and the others I was able to figure out based off of that one what I needed to be able to fit things in. And just with what was left over from that, I filled in that gap, this gap over here, and this gap over here. Now this gap has a little space in there, and I've got some thinner pieces that I can fill that space with, but it's skinnier at the top than it is at the bottom. So you can see on the right side of the screen there how there's a gap here, but as you go up or deeper in, there's not really much of any space there. And so with some thinner pieces that I have, I'll go ahead and try and fill that as much as possible before closing it up. And I'm cutting these to where they'll fit into the space, but that leaves a little opening at the top, just ends up being breather space. So that was really easy to do. I used the skill saw and it wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. So I am grateful for that. And what that tells me is that in an afternoon I could easily pull out all of the pieces of styrofoam that I have to use to insulate this and get the whole thing done, so that I could put the ceiling in, and I think that'd go up pretty quick, to be honest. And so that will be good, and I'll see if I can do that the same way, just do it in panels, 4 panels for each side, a panel for half, this half below the purlin, and this half below the purlin, same thing above. And if I can do that just right, then that'll be a lot faster for putting it up and for taking it down when it's time. And so I'm gonna just plan on trying to do it that way. Now this space, this is a thinner piece of styrofoam. It's only 2 inches, 2 or 3 inches. Let's see, 3 inches thick. You can kind of see in there. There. Yeah, that's only 3 inches thick. And the other styrofoam there, that's 6 inches thick. So I'll probably end up swapping that out eventually, but I just had that piece that actually fit just right width-wise. And so unless I find another piece that is 3 inches, because that's easy to just snap and toss into place. So if I find another piece that's just like that, then that's what I'll do there. And unless I just have the perfect amount of leftover like I did for what I've just done. And so that'll go, let's see. So with 2 panels, I should be able to fill 1, 2, 3 spaces. And then 1, 2, 3, 2 panels, and then a 3rd panel. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 5 panels of the styrofoam, and I should be able to get this whole thing insulated. It's gonna make a huge difference, even if there's little gaps like that. And I'll try and fill those. I've got some smaller pieces, like I say, but even if there are little gaps like that, I'm not worried about it once I got that end of the ceiling on, just because it's gonna make such a significant difference that it will be significantly improved over having nothing and just that dead air the way it is. So what I'll have is a paneled board ceiling that will look just like the roof there, and then what you're seeing now with that insulation, that's 6 inches of styrofoam with some imperfections in the spacing there and the width, and then the roof with the tar paper on the outside, and then the only thing that's missing is the tin, which is going to be backburnered for now. But keep in mind that I'm building this with a eventual plan of relocation, and at that point, then I'll just use, when I reassemble, I'll use some spray foam and fill in those gaps, and that'll make it quick and easy and get it done. And then I'll use some screens and such at the ends and make sure that everything is not going to have rodents in it and things like that. Much more tightly protected than it is now. And this is here where it's not out in the mountains exposed and such. So we'll see how it goes tomorrow. My goal is to get desks in this area, and here you can see I have framed or trimmed that window, and tomorrow I'll get the vertical trim pieces here. Honestly, I just forgot that until right now, seeing it. So, but it's too late, not making any more noise tonight, so that's easy. I'll just put those in tomorrow, and I'm not going to worry about trimming it on the outside yet. I want the inside to be where we're really lacking draft. I don't want it drafty. And here we have where I've started trimming the corners. And let me climb down and show you. So I'm doing this kind of an L shape, and I've put one piece the distance of half of the boards I'm using, and then I've trimmed that piece to where it will be the same distance in appearance from this corner, and that way you see, look at it there, and it looks like from here to here and here to here are the same, and you can see that that is the difference in the corners filled in with this piece. Now the problem there is that my wall is showing its imperfections big time here, so I'm going to custom trim this piece, which is what I cut off the edge of this one to fill the gap. Sorry for the shadow there, using my headlamp. And you can see quite a gap in the middle, and then not at all at the ends. And I'll stand back so that you can see that better. You see, so I don't want it to look all gappy. I want to fill the gap. And if I come over here on the other side of the ladder, you can see that even more. The other thing you can see is the windows that are trimmed out, and I explained that earlier in this video, that this trim being skinnier there than it is there, and having the same width overall. And I've got that window trimmed, and the center of those windows has its own trim. So I was not planning on trimming there, but I might, just because of uniformity in color, because this, I'm not going to take that off. I could, but I'm not going to. But I could easily cut a piece to fit, and so we'll see. But I want to have that doesn't have any gaps where there will be a draft, and so that's the important part. And I'm going to get back so you can see this whole window being trimmed, except for the same vertical pieces here and here. But that is what I've accomplished, and the trim there is gapped up off the floor, and that's because I'm planning to put trim around the floorboards as well, which will be the same width as the thicker board, the one that's on that side. And so I measured that, and that's going to go just across the whole thing. It's just going to give one more layer of protection against any drafts on the ground, because I saw some daylight through the bottom over this side, and I'm not super worried about it, but because like I said, when I relocate this, I'm going to use some spray foam on any gaps just to fill them in, and I am planning on disassembling and relocating the whole thing at some point, which is going to be a ton of work. Believe me, every time I put in another screw, I think about it. But it'll all be worth it once it finds its proper permanent home. But I'm liking how it's coming together, and I plan tomorrow to finish those details, sweep up, and move some things in here. I was hoping to do that tonight, but I'm just out of time, and it's not happening. I had some life come up the way it does, and that's all right. So I got that little buddy heater going. It's freezing outside. I don't know exactly what it is. I'll have to check. But inside, with just that one heater and me opening and closing this door all the time because I was going in and out a lot, it's up to, what is that, 45 about. And it was 50 something until I open and closed and carry in all the tools that I had outside, like the saws and the bigger saws that I was using outside. Now that I'm trying to get less dust in here, got a big old pile of stuff I got to clean up on that side, and I knocked over my gas can, which I'm glad is not leaking. Yeah, there's not much in there. It makes sense it's not leaking. Why it's not leaking? But that's. Oh, I finished the trim on, or the molding on the door, bottom, top. So now when I pull this door shut, I've got that electrical access here, and you can see there's not going to be a draft anywhere at all bigger than that. You can get up next to the door, look at it. So, you know, it's not watertight, and there'll be somewhat of a draft, but when I could easily put a latch that tightens it, and I just swivel over into a hole on this side, on this side, similar to what I'm planning to do for the lock. And then this here, again, there's a draft there, but pulling it, that stays pretty closed by itself. I mean, it doesn't close a whole lot more by tugging on it. I could put some something like this foam trim foam. I've got some smaller stuff that's like a 1/4 inch that I could put in there, but I'm just not super worried about it for the application that it has. So I'm gonna leave it the way it is. But those boards will not be enough for the ceiling, but I haven't gone to get more for a while because I was planning on using all those for the loft and not doing anything else for a while. And so I've got I'll have some of those, and I might sand them a little bit just because some of them are a bit rough. Some of them are not looking the way I'd like on the surface for the ceiling, where kids I'm sure will be touching the whole time, because you reach up and you grab it and you lean on it and it's low, and even my 2-year-old will be able to reach the ceiling there when she's standing up there. But that's the way it is. And getting trim on things, you can really see the imperfections. They stand out a lot. But like the top of that window above the trim, you can see how there's more of that darker board on what for you is the left side of the screen compared to how much is on the right. So it's at least a ½ inch difference. But the window is level, and that's the part I made sure of. So I might have just had the trim a little off, but yeah, that trim's a little off. But I'm not worried about it. I'm not going to change it. It's not that big a deal. It's a cabin. And my kids won't care. Building it for them to have a playhouse, building it for me to have a study area. And I'm really happy with what it is. Like I say, this is the biggest build I've ever done. It's been with power tools you've seen in my bare hands, at the hand tools you've seen, and it feels really big. I don't feel cramped at all. I have room. Like, I can reach my hand up, and there's like 2 feet before the bottom of that loft. I don't know if you can really tell there, but I can. So here, my hand reached all the way up. I can barely touch the top of the bottom of the trim on the door, and from there up, now these are 6-inch logs, to the bottom of that point up, there's a 1.5 feet before the loft, and the loft's sitting at 8.5 feet up there. So it's really a lot of space. There's a lot of headroom. Like I say, my brother's 6 foot, and he is not going to hit his head on anything. He'll be able to stand up in the center of the loft and stand up straight. And I gotta say, hey bro, thanks for the heater. Until I get the insulation finished and the ceiling up, this is not going to be adequate by itself. So I'm really appreciating the fact that you've given me that one, and that's going to make the cold days much more pleasant. Being that one, at least with me going in and out, which won't be the case when I'm sitting and studying, but that one with me going in and out, it's barely enough for me to get it up to 50, almost. And well, there we go. You see, it was at 45, now we're at 47. And there we go. Depends on the angle you look at. It's gone up a degree or two while we've been talking here. So that's the way it is, and that's what we've done today. So we'll get you more updates in the morning when I put some squiggly trim up that wall and and that wall, which you can see better this way how it squiggles. That one's, I think, the least of all. This one, that one might be less as well. It's definitely less than that side. That corner's the worst, and that corner's the second worst. So we'll see how it goes. But I want to trim it all the way up just to cover those gaps a little more. I might use some of this stuff because I've got it. I'm not using it for anything else, so I may as well. And I did not in that corner. Probably will over there. Probably put it on the back of the trim that I put that direction, just to help compensate for this huge bow out. And I might have to get creative on the trim, cutting it thinner, doing a couple of layers that bend more easily. And so we'll see. But I didn't want to risk bending that one there sideways and cracking it. The one that's on that wall is cracked, and you can see that right here. That is actually two pieces. There we go. Let me see. There we go. Okay, that's actually two pieces. You can see a crack diagonally. I attached the bottom piece, which has a crack up on the outside, and then I put the top piece in and I hammered it down till it was where it's at, and then I matched the lower level on this one because that's gonna be right above the trim. And so tomorrow I think I'll start with trim on the bottom before I do anything else. That way I don't have to set them up like that and hope that it's the same spot. I want them to come together. So I'll do that. I'm not super worried about the imperfections, but I don't want the big gaps like that one. So I'm gonna close those a little bit. So we'll see how I do that. I might just cut lots of skinny pieces and shove them in there to fill the gap. Because that piece seems to bend plenty. So I'm going to cut that to the length I need and just shove that in there. It won't need any screws. It'll just be hammered in place and be held in by the boards that are already there. I might just have to do that for everything. So we will see. But wanted to let you know what stages have happened today. And since I can sand at any time, I can hook that up to the vacuum and go to town with anything I want to, if I want to. I've got little girl's marks on here. If you see a previous video from back in the summer, you'll see when she came and helped me out doing that. And I'm about to get some decorations up inside, outside, and tomorrow hopefully I can really get going on that, and hopefully I'll be able to get out here early and get trim up and be done with it. That'll be nice. So I'm really liking the door. I use the small door mostly just to not let the heat out. And yeah, this place is really going to open up when it's warm in the summer, because I'll put a screen door that opens in there so we can open that whole big door out, and that window has a screen, that window has the pull down screen, and this window has a screen that's permanent. No, that window needs a screen, but it opens, so I'll make a screen for that one. That one has a screen. That one has a pull down screen. That one doesn't open. That one has a pull down screen. You can see those here. I've shown those in previous videos. And these windows, all the ones that open perpendicular to the way they set closed. And so that's going to give a really good draft at any point if I want to air things out. The only spot that won't air out until I get another door there is upstairs. That is going to be pretty enclosed, so hopefully there aren't any strange smells and any overnight sleepovers or something like that with the kids once I get the railing built, and I'm waiting for to get the ceiling in before I build the railing. So tomorrow I'll see if I can get myself up and at 'em early and be ready to move stuff in. I think whatever happens, I'll move stuff in tomorrow. Might not be early, but it's got to be. So I just need to get that. I need to get to that point. So tonight, I'm going to go ahead and do some cleanup, get some tools out of here that I'm not going to be using anymore, like the chainsaws and the level and that pile of screws on the floor. I'm not using any more of the square head screws, and that's what those are. And just clean up some excess so that I can have it ready to do as much, get as much done as possible tomorrow to get it as I want to use up all the materials I have available. And at that point, the trim is going to be done because I'm going to be doing the trim before I do the ceiling. And so the trim will be done, and then I'll get the insulation up, and then I'll use whatever boards I have left to make some panels for the ceiling. And then I will go ahead and sweep up, and I might even vacuum. And then move some things in. At that point, I'll show you what we move in, and I'm planning to mount the snow sports stuff on the outside, and at least the snowshoes, and we'll see from there. Inside, I definitely want to mount some sports stuff too. But we'll see. And then outside on these joists, I want to put up some mounting locations for the canoe to raise it up and mount it there underneath the eave on that side so that it's out of the weather, because right now it's just sitting. Don't know if you can see through this window. Dirty window. There it is. It's just sitting out there getting covered in snow. Kids walk on it sometimes, even though I get after them about it. And I want it up and protected, and then I'll mount the kayak under that. And so that's the way that'll go. And when I get everything done, I'll get updates for you as it gets done. So thanks so much for joining me. I really appreciate it. I appreciate you taking the time to share in my dream, to share in the accomplishment little by little, slowly, of my bucket list, of this item on my bucket list of hand building a log cabin, even though it's not in a traditional construction of a log cabin, even though I fabricated every log from reused, repurposed lumber, and instead of cutting down trees and hand hewing and things like that. But it has been a crazy adventure that you've joined me on, and I just want to make sure that you know that I really appreciate the time you've taken to watch the whole series and to comment and to subscribe to the channel and share my videos with people that you know will be interested in them so that they can enjoy them also. And we'll go ahead and walk out and get you a view from there in at night. Got some projects there. So that door stays pretty well by itself. I've got the snowshoes there I'm going to mount. And sorry when the lights go out, I'm looking behind me. I'm going to turn my light off so you can see the light in the windows and walk around the side here. you can see the roof. It's just like that. The porch. I do plan to put a covered porch on the front. I'm gonna walk to the other side. Crunching through the snow there. Back here enough for you to see that window. The sled is there in the way, so that's why you can't see the full window. There you can see the sled. Yeah, I want to put a covered porch over here. I'd like to put a big one, but we'll see. That's not going to be for a bit. That's for sure. Definitely not a priority right now, but eventually it will be. Just like window coverings and, you know, fully functional shutters, that is, and the like. So these sports, I don't know about mounting those. If I mount them, I'll mount them around the back or something, but or inside maybe. But these, I was thinking about mounting somewhere, maybe above the windows or something like that, or on the end. I don't know. We'll see. But that's it for now. And on a side note, that for those of you who know what's happening there, yeah, I'll tell about my experiences with that in a separate video. And if you have questions or if you know what's going on, then please comment, leave it in the comments, and that'll be good conversation. So I'm gonna let you go for now. Have a great night or a great day whenever you're watching this, and you'll see me next time. All right, well, welcome this morning. Spent some of the morning out here and went ahead and got some things finished up. You can see the threshold here. Got the trim on that. I got that smoothed out so that the only thing that you just gotta step up over the threshold instead of standing on it. And you can see I've swept everything out. Stand in this corner as much as I can. You can also see I've trimmed the corners. And blocked out those big gaps. With the trim, you can still really see how squonky the angles are as they go up. Let's see if I can get that to light up better. See those gaps. So it's not perfect, but hey, that's the project. So I've run that up to there because I plan to, just like this, I plan to go around this way under these and give that another bit of trim. And over here, I've run that up to there because, of course, I'm going to put the ceiling on, and so I'll get that side up to there as well. But what I want to do next is get the insulation up for the rest of it. And if I can do that today, I'll be real happy. So we'll see what is able to get done. But it's early in the day, as you can tell by the light. So here you can see how I brought electrical in. It's just to run a couple lamps and a computer as needed for studying, and that's it. You know, I'm not running any games or entertainment or anything like that. And I keep forgetting, I gotta put a couple of pieces of trim right over here to close these gaps because I'm going to be studying right here. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now, and then that'll be it for this first floor. It will be as done as it's going to get for a while, and then I will invite the missus out to take a peek and see how she can make it more homey an environment than what it is. Because for me, it'd be pretty straightforward. Have the heater, the desk, and the light, and my books, and I'd have some toys for the kids over here in the play area there, and eventually I'll figure out what I want to do for steps to get up to the loft, but I've got the ladder that I'm going to use in the meantime, and I just pulled that out so that I could show you all the room that we've created. And the ceiling is going to be congruent with everything else here. So it'll just go up to there and then angle in, follow up. And we'll still see the pylons and the ridge beam, but we won't see the rafters. So that's the way it's going to be, because I have the ability to insulate it now this way instead of on top of what I've got. So that's going to be the greatest efficiency for me to get it done instead of waiting and waiting. So that's the way it'll be. Real excited. It's a huge deal. When I get things moved in, then it'll be a little more real. It's still a little bit surreal, to be honest, and it's awesome. So over here you can see how I filled that gap. Just cut some boards to match and the gap and hammered them in just to get the bigger space filled. But that's the way it is, and so wanted to share it with you. Thank you. Thanks for accompanying me and motivating and with your comments and sharing ideas. Really appreciate it. So thank you, and gonna get this thing warmed up a little bit. I opened the doors and opened the windows while I was sweeping everything out, and it dropped down to 42. It was about 50 or 45, I think. But we'll get it warmed up, and when we get the insulation all up and get the ceiling up, then it'll retain the heat a lot better. And I'm excited because my brother's gonna come and join me for a night. And if you remember through the older videos, he helped me get this thing from, I don't know, like here to about there-ish tall before I had really got moving on it. And so it'll be really nice to have him come and be able to spend a night out here and enjoy it. And maybe by that time, so it's not going to be super soon, it'll be in a number of weeks still, but maybe it'll be a time where I can grab the tin and we can get the tin up on the roof while he's here, because that'd be a lot nicer to do with two people than just by myself. And that's something that he said he'd wanted to do anyways. Back when back the first time that he came down, he said, "Oh, I wish I could help you come down and be ready and help you with the roof." And you know what? You might just make that wish come true. It'll definitely be a big help for me, but it would be pretty cool to get it done. Oh, just showing you some of the details here while I ramble on, and I included them in the trim as well. And that was real nice because some of these really pretty details like this, these are on the smaller, the thinner boards, and so I didn't have a spot to put them into the main sections like these ones here. So it was nice to incorporate those in the trim. And I'll definitely have to vacuum. I was thinking about not vacuuming, but I'm going to have to vacuum it out because it's going to be a play place and I want it to be nice and clean air and everything with the kids. And then we'll have to clean these windows because you can't see out of them like windows right now. But it's all right. Lots to do. But most of it's now just the insulation ceiling and then outside, which means we can get to utilizing the space. But man, I built something. I built something bigger than myself. And I gotta say, it's pretty powerful to create something bigger than yourself. I know in this case it's physically bigger than myself, but it's going to be a source of joy and fun with my family, and there will be a lot more modification as time passes. Things like the porch and covered porch and balcony and slides off the balcony and door out to the balcony from the loft, and more windows up here. Eventually I want to get more windows up in that area and let some more natural light in up top, but that's all with time. That's not going to be right now. I wanted to get this place so we could utilize it, and so it's functional and warm and safe. And so one of the sooner projects will be, after I get the ceiling up, will be the rails, and I'll put that right across here. And I'm pretty sure that I'm going to want the stairs to come off that side and be able to tuck away or fold up. I'm not sure which, but I like the flip up style and just counterweight it. And I've got plenty of space across here. See if I can control the light there. I've got plenty of space across here for the length to where if I put that up and flipped it down with a counterweight, that it would be okay with the angle of incline. And that would be the easiest way for me to put a decent handrail on it, so that when you're climbing up, the wall is on that side and the rail is on this side, so that it's safer for the kids. And so that might be something I do. I was originally planning on making it so that it just would slide up against the wall and stay flat, but I'm thinking that a drop down would be, because I wouldn't have to tuck away the handrail, it would be easier because I could just have it rotate up and it would be right up next to the handrail there, and it would also have an extra fail-safe in case kids got Riley and hopped over the handrail like sometimes they do, because then it would be the stairs there and a slow descent onto whatever is below. But we could raise the stairs from the, during sleep time for campouts and sleepovers and such. But that will take place up there. Sorry, I can't reach any higher. And the ladder's not here, just to show you the detail of the first floor. So that's where we're at. super excited. Thank you, thank you. Please hit that thumbs up and subscribe, and I'll keep the videos coming as we continue to progress with the details. So, thank you, thank you, thank you. You're wonderful. There'll be a lot of cleanup too. I'll do some cleanup videos, or at least show the change of videos, talking through the changes as they come about, and lots to clean up. So I'll show you how I end up mounting that canoe if I do, and what I want to do is come around and show you here. I want to see the porch here as it is. I want to mount it right up here on some pulleys. Under these, so that it stays under the eave, and the eaves are just over 16 feet, 16.2, and that's 15.5, so that would get it just perfectly protected, especially from the kids walking on it. But just have it up and out of the way, and then that'll be a better spot for it. It'll be safer, and it won't be taking up the yard, and I'll have it on pulleys and strapped to the wall as well, so it doesn't blow in the wind. And so as I get that done, I will get a video on it, and then the kayak. So that'll take quite a bit of this space here, and it'll stick out on the sides, but that's okay. I'd rather it be up and out of the way than where it's at. And then below it I can mount the kayak, and if I do that, I'll probably get a cover for it just so it's out of the weather, out of the direct sunlight anyways, and just some sort of a soft cover. But that'll take up some space along this solid wall, which I'm really glad I decided to do. And I'll have to build a fence to retain these berries, otherwise they will make it so that they take up the whole space of the back porch, and won't be able to reach them and enjoy them. And so I could trim them too, but I'll do a little bit of that. They're getting pretty tall. The blackberries over there are super tall, but that's some of the cleanup here. I mean, shoot, that space, like you saw in one of the previous videos here, that the space occupied by all of this, which is now going to be used for other projects and for firewood, that has as much of a footprint essentially as the cabin itself, as the playhouse cabin, everything that it is. So let's get you a good view of the eaves here. And got the tools all outside to clear it out. He's gonna go elsewhere. I'm not gonna fill it with tools. I'm gonna fill it with kids and joy. Kids and giggles. And got the heaters over there. And that's it. Thank you. Okay, so here's a little update. I'm using these, of course, same source. These are the insides of the lids for spas or jacuzzis, and when you take it all down and off all the layers, the inside is this about 5 or 6 inch styrofoam, and what I'm doing is measuring it to the size, the width between the rafters, and then I'm marking it. I'll score it with a straight edge. I'm using the long board there to measure out, and I measure it, 3 or 4 locations to make sure it's the width I need. And the rafters, this is going to go right in between the rafters, so a rafter here and a rafter here, and I'll show you what I'm talking about when I get this in. But then I go ahead and rip through with the skill saw, and that gets covered with our insulating snow here. and then I mark out, just because the measurements it's worked for me between the purlin and the ridge beam, to be able to still slide a piece in and then fit the other one up in the next space, is I'll do 42 inches at most, and then about 40 inches for the other one, and that generally fills the space. You know, whatever the rest is, as long as it's less than 42, it'll fit. And this is excess from this panel, and this is excess from previous panels, and I'm gonna go ahead and use those to complete some of the smaller spaces if I need to, if I don't have full panels for them, and these pieces here and such. So that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna go get these 2 pieces installed, and I'll show you what that looks like. Okay, so this is what I'm talking about. I've got one that'll go in here, but I'm gonna slide it in through the top, and then the other one will fill the rest of the space. So I'm gonna get that in, and then I'll show you. All right, it's in. Because I cut it just right, ended up taking less than a minute to install that. And I just lifted this one into, I put the bottom of it behind there, and I lifted it flat, and then just slid it down. And then with this one, I put the top up above the ridge beam as much as I could, slid it up, and then took the hammer and just tapped it a little bit down, and there's how it ended up. There's a little overlap that can settle, you can see, but the gaps are pretty minimal. Yes, there are gaps. No, I'm not worried about it. This is getting the majority taken care of. If I were worried about gaps, then this wouldn't be the build for that. So I've got 1, 2 spaces on that side to go, and one big one, 2 spaces on that side to go. If I have enough left over, which I'm pretty sure I will, I'll put that in this gap where I've got just a 3-inch, just to have that better insulated. And then we'll be done with this, and it'll be ceiling install and panels as explained earlier, and then it'll be 4-season insulated. And that is super cool for me, because I wasn't expecting to do this early. I was expecting to wait, but because it ended up being so easy to install and I had the materials on hand, it's made it possible to get this done today. So I'm gonna get to it so I can finish, and then I'll clean things up so we can move some things in. All right, well, that's how I'm gonna call it. Insulated, got a few gaps, not worried about them, like that. It's just a stain, it's not a gap there or a hole. And using scraps for this last section here, that sucked, but it's filled, so it's fine. And so we'll see how it does now that I've got insulation. I'm gonna wait to work on closing the ceiling, because I might get motivated to switch that out. That one right there, I don't think it'll make a huge difference, to be honest, but some maybe. I mean, it's 3 inches of foam with a gap around it compared to 6 inches of foam. Yeah, it's right in the middle. It'll be closed, and we'll see. I probably will switch it out, but I'm not worried about that hole, or that hole, or one over there that's not really filled. But I squeeze a little more in up there with that last row, or in between that last set of rafters. But that's going to reduce the sound a lot and reduce the thermal flow as well. So I'm happy with it because it's done. Because it's done and it was effective, and I'm looking forward to seeing how much of a difference that makes. And I know it'll be even better when I get the ceiling up. So it'll be one more layer of boards that'll be screwed into the rafters there, and just one more layer of protection from the elements, and it'll be way better looking than that styrofoam. I'm not a fan of styrofoam, but since I have it and have it available, this is a good application for it. And in the future, I might keep around a couple panels so that when I relocate this thing, I can put solid pieces there, just one on the bottom, one on top, just like I did here, because that is a really nice fit. I'm real happy with that. But at the same time, if it means more work, then I might just go get a can of spray foam at that point when this is in its permanent home, because that'll be easy. But this is honestly pretty easy to cut up. I used a skill saw, and then I used a pull saw, and it worked real well. It was pretty easy, just a little bit time consuming, just like anything, but it's pretty good. Like I say, there's some gaps there you can see, but that'll be some decent airflow up top, and it'll all be closed off by the ceiling when I get those panels up. And that's where we're at for now. So that's the update. Thanks for joining me. Appreciate you. And thanks for hitting that subscribe button. That helps even more. Thank you much. And I'll keep you updated as we keep going.